الله أكبر. حي على الصلاة. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. حي على الصلاة.
Again, I rise, giving the most high praise to Allah, the highest honors to his prophet, Prophet Noble Jali. I also like to extend honors to the Moorish flag, which reminds us of the standard that we are to uphold as Moorish Americans. I also give honors to the United States flag as well. Islam. Continuing with my measure from last week, I'd just like to read from chapter 2. A little from chapter 2. Okay. Yes, continue with my measure from last week. I'm just speaking about the Moabites and the Moabites' role in the Moorish Science Temple of America. This is a good example dealing with Mary and Elizabeth and their deliverance and their time in the wilderness, or their time with Elihu. And I'll skip the first few verses. Well, actually, I'll read through them. We all are familiar with chapter 2, I'm assuming. And it says, it's the education of Mary and Elizabeth in Zoan, Egypt. The son of Herod, Achilles, reigned in Jerusalem. He was a selfish, cruel king. He put to death all those who did not honor him. He called in council all the wisest men and asked about the infant claimant to his throne. The council said that John and Jesus both were dead. Then he was satisfied. Now Joseph, Mary, and their sons were down in Egypt in Zoan, and John with his mother in the Judean hills. Elihu and Salome sent messengers in haste to find Elizabeth and John. They found them. They brought them to Zoan. Now Mary and Elizabeth were marveling much because of their deliverance. Now I want us to take a second, kind of going off track, but I want to kind of take a second to think, how did Elihu and Salome know to send those messengers? What made them send those messengers? And we'll get to that shortly. Elihu said, It is not strange. There are no happenings. Law governs all events, which is a good point to follow that up. From olden times, it was ordained that you should be with us in the sacred school, and in the sacred school be taught. Elihu and Salome took Mary and Elizabeth out to the sacred grove nearby, where they were wont to teach. Elihu said to Mary and Elizabeth, You may esteem yourself thrice blessed, for you are chosen mothers of long-promised sons, who are ordained to lay a solid rock, a sure foundation stone on which the temple of perfected man shall rest, a temple that shall never be destroyed. We measure time by cycle ages, and this gets into how Elihu and Salome knew to send those messengers at that specific time. We have prophets that come to us, and we look at them now, we marvel and we are in awe because they seem like they know so much, but they are, with the spirit of Allah, observing the time. With the eyes of Allah, they're observing the time. They're seeing certain things that have happened in history, and seeing that understanding that it cycle ages, and understanding that there's nothing new under the sun. They're deemed as prophets because they know what's about to happen and they can speak what's about to happen. Who are ordained, I'll read verse 10 again. Elihu said to Mary and Elizabeth, You may esteem yourself thrice blessed, for you are chosen mothers of long-promised sons, who are ordained to lay a solid rock, a sure foundation stone on which the temple of the perfect man shall rest, a temple that shall never be destroyed. We measure time by cycle ages, and the gate to every age we deem a milestone in the journey of the race. An age has passed, the gate unto another age flies open at the touch of time. This is the preparation age of soul. the kingdom of Emmanuel, of Allah and man. Now, I want to read something myself from our prophet as well, from the Moorish literature, dealing with verse 13. And I want us to kind of think deeply into this. It says, "An age has passed, the gate unto another age flies open at the touch of time. This is the preparation age of soul, the kingdom of Emmanuel." Islam. Are y'all able to talk? Islam. Okay. And brother, I like to, I don't like to talk at people, so if you have anything as well that any measures, feel free to chime in as well.
Ma'am.
So this preparation age of soul, of Allah and man, I want us to take a second to just consider, how pure do you have to be for Allah to want to come into you?
Mm-hmm.
How pure does your heart have to be for Allah to want to come into your heart and to reside into your heart? I'm going to read from our prophet, from the Moorish Guide. Let's think this over, you Moors. I'm not sure which page it's on. Just 1 second. Okay. This is from our prophet, LamadahYah Ali. Think this over, you Moors, in our Moorish literature. And listen to the title. Think this over, you Moors. All sheiks, grand sheiks, must prepare for the prophet before he comes to visit them. Must see to it that all is clean and in perfection, as far as comfort is possible, or otherwise don't arrange to have his presence. Just that's the first 2 sentences. The rest goes into speaking about the emergency funds and the monies and things like that. But just those first 2 sentences, I think we breeze over those to kind of get to, our emergency funds and our dues and things like that. But those first 2 sentences are powerful. If we really look at it, I'll read it again. It says, all sheiks, grand sheiks, must prepare for the prophet before he comes to visit them. Must see to it that all is clean and in perfection, as far as comfort is possible, or otherwise don't arrange to have his presence. So we can take that into consideration, knowing that this is the time of Emmanuel, of Allah and man, when we make a supplication to Allah, when we pray to Allah, and we ask for Allah for a particular thing. Like, brothers, have we ever asked for a woman that we knew that we weren't ready for yet? Have we ever asked for a position that we knew that we weren't ready for yet? Maybe you're working in a company and you want a raise or you want a promotion. Do we deserve that promotion yet? Is our heart pure enough? Are we fulfilling our capacity where we are now? If we have a lower level position and we want a promotion, are we exceeding the expectations of our current position? So before we ask any departed spirits or departed souls or Allah to come and visit us or come into us, we have to make sure that we are pure. Islam. And going into the measure last week, that's the duty of from my understanding, and this is my opinion, that's the duty of the Moabites in the Moorish Science Temple of America, is to basically deliver that purity, like Elizabeth delivered John the Baptist into the world. We're supposed to bring that light into the world and shed the light on the things that are covered or the things that are dark, and rid ourselves of those, or rid our nation of those things. And excuse me, I'm just going to read from, 1 second. I know I'm kind of jumping around, but there was something, if you haven't, I'm not sure, brother, have you attended a Sunday school?
Yes, ma'am.
You have attended a Sunday school. So it was, the Sunday schools, as I'm sure if you attended, they're very powerful. It gives us all a chance to unfold. And this, I'm going to read a little bit from chapter 4 of our Circle 7. It says, the cause of death are always for the best, for we are solving problems there as well as here. And one is sure to find himself where he can solve his problems best. It is but selfishness that makes one wish to call again to earth departed souls. then let your mother rest in peace. Just let her noble life be strength and inspiration to you. So this is, for those that don't know, is going into the death of Elizabeth, or when Elizabeth fell before him, and John the Baptist was grieving, and Matheno spoke to him about death and spoke to him about understanding his mission to the sons of men. And so in this, that key 6, it says, it is but selfishness that makes one wish to call again to earth departed souls. So our prophet, he came and he told us, he said, I have given you everything that you need to save the nations, or to redeem the nations, pardon the paraphrase. But if we can't understand these things, then we have to make sure this environment is pure. If we have to call on those departed souls, if we have to call on our departed great-great-great-great-grandmothers, our departed ancestors, if we're going into battle, that's a situation where we can call on those departed souls, the General Tariq and all of the other great warriors, Hannibal, and all of our other great ancestors. That's a situation. But for trivial things, we have the keys, we have the degrees to handle those things. Islam, with the assistance of Allah. Islam. And I'll go back to chapter 2. I'll read verse 13 again. An age has passed, the gate unto another age flies open at the touch of time. This is the preparation age of soul, the kingdom of Emmanuel, of Allah and man. And these your sons will be the first to tell the news and teach the gospel of goodwill to men and peace on earth. A mighty work is theirs. I want to read that one again as well, verse 14. I just like to reiterate things because I think a lot of times we read and we gloss over things.
True.
And we don't really take the time to feel the significance of the words that our prophet laid down for us. It says, and these your sons will be the first to tell the news and teach the gospel of goodwill to men and peace on earth. So goodwill to men, that's demonstrated in chapter 8 of our Circle 7, which I'll get to next if we have time. Goodwill to men is me doing for you what I would want someone else to do for myself. And Brother Raphael and I, a lot of times, we don't get into it, but I'll get on his nerves because I'll do a lot for other people. Or I'll do something that maybe he wouldn't necessarily do, or he may not think is wise to do. But I understand that it's for Allah. And despite, how this person receives it or if they're grateful for it, it's for Allah. It's for Allah. It's goodwill to men, but we're serving Allah through our brothers and sisters. And that's what brings a peace on earth. A mighty work is theirs, for carnal men want not the light. They love the dark, and when the light shines in the dark, they comprehend it not. Have you ever spoke to a person and tried to kind of deliver these degrees, but it's so foreign? Or even I had a situation where I was talking to a lady that was a Christian, maybe not the best background. And she was trying to explain to me that we're all sinners and we have to be sinners because she expressed to me that her mother and her father had done not cocaine, crack. And so she wasn't worthy on her own, but that Jesus, had to, redeem her, the Christian understanding, the Christian mindset. And my message to her was that we are pure. We are supposed to do the works of Jesus as well. And it almost baffled her, but because my spirit stayed humble, she couldn't combat it. And at first I could tell she didn't understand, but after a while she just had to stop and look, and look at me and just say, okay, you may be a Muslim, you may be something different, but you may be onto something as well. And that's the planting the seed that we have to do, even if people don't understand, even if she wouldn't have handled it the same way, even if she would have flipped out and started to get upset. and started to be rude, we still have to be that light, even when people don't comprehend it. We call these sons, Jesus and John, we call these sons the revealers of the light, but they must have the light before they can reveal the light. And there's a significance in those threes. Speaking of the light, in our Quran of Muhammad, it says that we were formed in triple darkness. So if we were formed in triple darkness, our form, our manifest, was made manifest in triple darkness. We have to go through being enlightened 3 times. There are three different, I won't say sectors of the Moorish Science. 3 different stages of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The sacred groves, the faithful, and then the Adab chamber. So even that in itself is a sign. The 3 is a powerful number. And you must teach your sons and set their souls on fire with love and holy zeal, and make them conscious of their missions to the sons of men. So that, again, setting them on fire with love and holy zeal, we're going to get back to that as well, inshallah, if we have time. And make them conscious of their missions to men. That consciousness is a big thing. Skipping over to, and I'll come back to this, skipping over to chapter 7, skipping over to chapter 7, verse 8, it says, all things that can be seen by the human eyes are manifest of Allah, are not, and so must pass away. These things we see are but reflexes, just appearing, while the ethers vibrate so and so, and when conditions change, they disappear. And that also goes into, as man unfolds, his God unfolds. So going back to chapter 2, verse 17, that consciousness of our mission gives us resolution. As our brother Yosef demonstrated before, as descendants of Cain or descendants of Canaan, or of the nation of Canaan, there is a stigma, especially in the quote-unquote conscious community, that Canaan was cursed, or Cain was cursed. So if you come into this life understanding that you're cursed, and even going into the Christian ideology, where it's taught that we are all born in sin, we're all sinners. And that's the thing. I had an uncle tell me one time, who was a pastor, told me that it doesn't make sense to try not to sin. That we're all going to sin anyway, so you may as well sin. That's what he told me. And so if we have that mindset that we're going to fail anyway, if we have that mindset that we are Negroes anyway, if we have that mindset that our life is worthless and that if we walk outside we can get killed by the police, how great can we be? We won't be that great. We won't strive. The only thing we'll strive for is maybe to be famous, but we have to, that's an important part of raising our nation, an important part of raising our children and raising our brothers and sisters, as old as they may be 65, 70 years old, 80 years old, and still not be conscious of their mission, and still not be conscious of their purpose. That understanding of purpose affects how you think, affects how you operate, and what you think is what will manifest for you. So we have to get everybody conscious of our missions. And I ask this every time as well, and brother, if you don't mind answering, just to kind of get it out there in the air, what's the mission of us in the Moorish Science Temple of America? Like, what is our mission as a collective?
Well, we know that first Islam.
Right?
That's to his holy prophet and all the wonderful works he's brought into us. Praise Allah. We are taught that our mission is to uplift fallen humanity.
Islam. Praise Allah.
First, but we have other missions after that
Islam.
as well.
Praise Allah. Okay. Verse 18, it says, teach them that Allah and man are one. So understand, I'll stop right there for a second. Going back to that verse 13, we're in the kingdom of Emmanuel, of Allah and man. if you could think about things that you say or you do on, maybe not us, because we're here in the temple and we're, redeemed from Asia, but think about things that you used to do as an Asiatic in the world with no light of self or no knowledge of self. Would you do that if you knew that you and Allah were one? Would you do that same thing to Allah? And we have dealing with children in foster care, and that's children in foster care, when they are doing certain things like self-injurious behaviors, like cutting themselves and taking drugs, or even just using profanity. We have to help them to understand that they are part of Allah, or Allah is within them. So what they're doing also to Allah, or to whatever God they understand, or whatever portion of Allah that they perceive. Teach them that Allah and man are one, but that through carnal thoughts and words and deeds, man tore himself away from Allah, debased himself. Teach that holy breath would make them one again, restoring harmony and peace. That naught can make them one but love. That Allah so loved the world that he has clothed his Son in flesh, that man may comprehend. The only Savior of the world is love, and Jesus, Son of Mary, comes to manifest that love to men. Now love cannot manifest until its way has been prepared, and naught can rend the rock and break down the lofty hills and fill the valleys up, and thus prepare the way but purity. But purity in life men do not comprehend, so it too come in flesh. So now, going back to think this over, you Moors, it says that everything should be clean. So purification and cleanliness is key. Even in our divine constitution and bylaws, it speaks about the cleanliness of the heart, the cleanliness of the heart, the mind, and the body. So that cleanliness is key for us, and that physical cleanliness is a representation of our spiritual and our mental, or our mental and spiritual cleanliness. I'm sorry, I lost my place. 1 second. Verse 24. And you, Elizabeth, are blessed, because yours is purity made flesh, and he shall pave the way for love. And I say this all the time when I speak about purity as well. The path to purity is not easy. The path to purity, and I say it all the time, we think that it's, just fun and nice and, like a tranquil path. That path is difficult because we're on this plane of manifest. You look out there, there are so many vices, there are so many, I think about sometimes when I wake up, and the TV and stuff is left on the TV and the radio and things are going on. It's like waking up to suggestions before you even have a chance to make a decision. And that's what it is coming here. Like when we're birthed into this world, or when we were birthed into this world, you're being birthed into so much without even having all of your faculties of your soul, of the reasoning, the thinking. You can think, but you don't really know how to reason yet until you become, a young man or a young woman of the age of maybe 11, 12, 13, coming into a teenager. You begin to use your reasoning skills. So this verse 24, this purity that's spoken of is not easy. It's not an easy thing to obtain, but it is obtainable. This age will comprehend but little of the works of purity and love, but not a word is lost. For in the book of Allah's remembrance, a registry is made of every thought and word and deed. And when the world is ready to receive, lo, Allah will send a messenger to open the book and copy from its sacred pages all the messages of purity and love. Then every man of earth will read the words of life in language of his native land, and men will see the light walk in the light and be the light. There are those threes again, speaking about that light coming into that purity. And man again will be at one with Allah. Islam. And I will now go into chapter 8. Chapter 8. And it says, Jesus reveals to the people of their sinful ways. Islam. In all the cities of Arisha, Jesus taught. At Katak by the riverside, he taught, and thousands of people followed him. And that riverside is that has a significance as well. That riverside, and then if you go into chapter 12, speaking about the flowing streams, that has a significance as well. Those flowing streams is that flowing truth, that flowing energy. Islam. One day a carved juggernaut was hauled along by scores of frenzied men, and Jesus said, "Behold, a form without a spirit passes by, a body with no soul, a temple with no altar fires. This car of Krishna is an empty thing, for Krishna is not there. This car is but an idol of people drunk on wine of common things. Allah lives not in the noise of tongues, and there is no way to him from any idol shrine." And I'll stop there for a second, going back to that verse 3. Behold, a form without a spirit passes, a body with no soul, a temple with no altar fires. And I'll mention something that our brother LamadahYah Bey, who's not here now, spoke about this previous Sunday school. That empty, basically, if you're here and you're not manifesting that will of Allah, you are a vessel without a soul. You have no altar fires. You have no love. And basically what it says here, the car of Krishna is an empty thing, for Krishna is not there. Verse 6, Allah lives not in the noise of tongues. There is no way to him from any idol shrine. Allah's meeting place with man is in the heart, and in a still small voice he speaks, and he who hears is still. And I want us to take a look at how many times heart is mentioned throughout this chapter and all throughout our Circle 7. And I'll read that verse 7 again. Allah's meeting place with man is in the heart, and in a still small voice he speaks, and he who hears is still. And that's the significance of that heart being pure. Wow. That heart has to be pure first before anything else can be purified. And all the people said, "Teach us to know the Holy One, who speaks within the heart, Allah of the still small voice." And this chapter here, it lines up very well with chapter 12 as well. You have those flowing streams of the river, and then you also have that our prophet Jesus, our brother Jesus, is sitting and teaching people in the sacred groves. And he's teaching them about how to seek out Allah, how to seek the quote-unquote face of Allah. And it says, and all the people said, "Teach us to know the Holy One who speaks within the heart, Allah of the still small voice." And Jesus said, "The holy breath cannot be seen with mortal eyes, nor can men see the spirits of the Holy One. But in their image man was made, and he who looks into the face of man looks into the image of Allah, who speaks within. And when man honors man, he honors Allah. And what man does for man, he does for Allah." And that also goes into, we read that and we think of only the positive. If I give to my brother or my sister, then I'm giving to Allah, but we have to look at the negative as well. So when we backbite, our brother or our sister. We're doing that to Allah as well.
Islam.
When we don't give all of the things that we mentioned before, when we don't give the things that we would expect or we would want, we're also holding that back from Allah. Verse 12. And you must bear in mind that when man harms, Islam, verse 12, man harms in thought or word or deed another man, he does a wrong to Allah. If you would serve the Allah who speaks within the heart, just serve your near of kin, and those that are no kin, the stranger at your gates, the foe who seeks to do you harm. Assist the poor and help the weak. Do harm to none, and covet not what is not yours. Then with your tongue the Holy One will speak, and he will smile behind your tears, will light your countenance with joy, and fill your heart with peace. And I underlined it, that key word, then. After all of these things are done, after we purify our heart, then Allah will speak with our mouths and bear witness to himself. So after we learn how to love each other, love one another, love our brothers and sisters, then we can go out and speak to the nations and deliver this message that our prophet has given us to the nations. But if we don't learn to love our brothers and sisters, or we don't learn to love ourselves as a nation, then our message is going to be here in our temples. Nobody's going to listen to us if we're not practicing our messages. And then people ask, to whom shall we bring gifts? Where shall we offer sacrifice? And Jesus said, our Father Allah has not for needless waste of plant, of grain, of dove, of lamb. That which you burn on any shrine you throw away. No blessing can attend the one who takes the food from hungry mouths to be destroyed by fire. And when you will offer sacrifice unto Allah, just take your gift of grain or meat, and lay it on the table of the poor. From it an incense will arise to heaven, which will return to you with blessedness. Tear down your idols. They can hear you not. Turn all your sacrificial altars into fuel for the flames. Make human hearts your altars, and burn your sacrifices with the fire of love. And going back to that verse 21, it says, tear down your idols. They can hear you not, and turn all your sacrificial altars into fuel for the flame. That goes into us taking whatever our idols are, whether it's a statue that we worship, or whether it's a certain characteristic that we have within ourselves, and turning that and burning that away from us. That's fuel for the fire, because you're showing that you love yourself. You're showing that you love the Allah within you enough to sacrifice those things, those carnal things that you were born into. Make human hearts your altars, and burn your sacrifices with the fire of love. And all the people were entranced and would have worshipped Jesus as a God. But Jesus said, I am your brother man, just come to show the way to Allah. You shall not worship man. Praise Allah, the Holy One. Islam. And with that, I just want us to consider, as I always do, the way we treat others, the things that we do for others. When someone comes and asks us for a thing, whether it's a favor, whether it's, if it's in your power to give it, we should consider it as an opportunity to serve Allah. Consider it as an opportunity. Don't think, okay, well, I'm so tired, or I don't have the money to give, or all of the excuses that we make up to not serve each other, or not give to each other, or not to do for each other. We should think of it more so as an opportunity to serve Allah, as opposed to just giving to an individual person.
Allahu Akbar. Hayya ala salah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Hayya ala salah. Allahu Akbar. Allah